All right, well, Jay, you are going to give us a special report about a conspiracy conference.
Yeah, a listener to the show emailed me and let me know that he and his wife had gone to it can only be best described as a conference filled with people that were talking about all of their different conspiracy theories. He decided, even though it was going to be very expensive, I think it was over $1,000 each, so he spent over $2,000
Really?
to get there. Yeah, it was.
What?
It was.
That's dedication.
Wow.
Well, wait, that was everything. Now that was $180 for the entrance fees, and then he had to do hotel, meals, rental car, airfare, and everything. Right.
That wasn't the registration fee by itself.
No, but still, it's a lot of money to spend on something to go and just basically be a fly on the wall. He wanted to do some investigative reporting on this. So we met up on Skype and we talked for quite a while about the whole thing. And then at the end of it, after quizzing him and asking him questions and trying to pull out interesting information, he said, I got to tell you, Jay, we haven't even scratched the surface because I think he had hours of audio that he recorded. Every time he was talking to someone, he was very careful to not get caught, but he had an audio recorder in his pocket.
So what you're telling me, Jay, is that nobody at this conspiracy conference picked up the fact that they were being secretly recorded by somebody who infiltrated their conference.
No, and I got to tell you, after working with him and putting together this information, there are some twists and turns in this story that I found not only surprising, but a little shocking. He said there was about 350 people attending. It was about half male, half female. He said lots of minorities, very few people under 40 years old. His basic take on it were that the people were genuinely nice, like they seemed to be friendly people, very talkative, very interested to talk to everyone else that was there. So I was asking him about if they were careful about not letting people like him in, because I had read previously that conventions like this are on the lookout for spies and for people that are going to do any negative reporting. So he said before the convention started that they were walking around, he and his wife, checking out the hotel, taking in the area where the convention was going to take place. And then he came upon a room and he overheard a speech being given by someone that he later found out was one of the organizers to a bunch of the volunteers. And the guy said, keep an eye out for the media, people with recorders and cameras, and anyone not like-minded to our cause. And this was all the night before the conference started, which, of course, is very funny to hear them just say it just like that. I guess they get harassed. I guess there was a lot of incidents of...
Yeah, but also, Jay, they might just be saying that because they know that's what their people want to hear.
Yeah,
That's
true. They're conspiracy theorists.
That's right. That's their bread and butter. Things get interesting here. This is the summary of the people that were there, and I'm going to expand on what I said previously. He said early in the convention he noticed that there was a fundamental baseline paranoia that the attendees and the presenters had in general as it relates to their daily living. And he said that a typical thing that or impression that he got was the always be looking over your shoulder statement. All of them were always pushy about, you have to be careful. There's always something going on. There's always a conspiracy happening right there, wherever you are. He said they were all blatantly narcissistic and full of themselves, and that they all felt that they were so much smarter and, in quotes, in touch with what was going on around them, and that the general public, and he said that they thought the general public was a bunch of lemmings, and they referred to them as lemmings. That was like one of the words that he kept hearing.
So far, this sounds exactly like a Skeptics meeting, but okay, go on.
That's what he said. He made that observation too. He pointed that out. I think it was an interesting moment in our conversation because, if you think about it, when you're going to a convention of like-minded people, you're with your people, with the people that you're identifying with, and that you typically think of it as an us or them situation. But it was a little humbling too to hear them say that. And there's even more. So let me continue, and you'll really get the picture here of what's going on. He said that it was fascinating to listen to these people talk about themselves being the critical thinkers. And he quotes this: skeptics are just cynics who are blinded by their preconceived notions and ignore the facts around them. And they consider themselves to be the open-minded and logical group. And they view the skeptical community as having the exact same flaws in logic as the skeptics view the conspiracy community. And he jokingly said that it was like they were in a parallel but opposite universe because there was a lot of very similar language as to what we use talking about them, which is very ironic.
We both can't be right.
He said similar to our conferences, they would invite people to come up and ask questions after a speaker had talked. And one guy walked up and asked the speaker how he could bring around his skeptic friends to their way of thinking. The speaker says, be honest, don't belittle, be respectful, and little by little, the skeptic will come out around to the truth. What does that sound like?
Wow.
Seriously, guys, isn't that interesting? That same questioner said that he had joined a skeptical group in Southern California and was working to bring them around. And my guy on the inside said that he almost broke out laughing at that point and got busted. It was really difficult for him not to lose it at that point. It's funny is both of our groups are in a way trying to find out more and infiltrate the other group. Take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not saying anything like they're right or whatever, which of course they're not saying that about us either. But it is interesting that we're falling prey to similar, you know, feelings of knowing that we're right, everyone else is wrong, and all that type of stuff. So, you know, if anything, you could be humbled a little bit by the idea that even the people that we're dead sure are wrong or feel the same exact way about us as we do about them.
Well, I mean, that's just generic, though. Everyone thinks they're right.
Yeah, this is in no way surprising to me so far.
Well, Rebecca, you're a worldly conference goer and you've been around the block a million times. I mean, you know, maybe a lot of our listeners may not have had as much experience, and even still, I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years, and I was a little taken aback by his observations because they're true, you know, because it's true and it's interesting. He heard a weekend's worth, of course, the complete scientific nonsense. All of our scientific terminology, quantum mechanics, logical fallacies, you know, all recklessly built on top of each other like a house of cards. He said they just were throwing this stuff out left and right, and everybody believed everybody else's nonsense. And another thing that he noticed was subtle anti-Semitism from every single speaker that got up. And worse, the crowd and the vendors were not even trying to hide it. He heard different versions of the phrase, the Jews control the world and we need to stop them, over and over again. Just openly putting down the Jewish community as the people that are in control and that are the troublemakers of the world. Other common threads that they observed by the attendees, he said everyone they spoke to, like I said, was very friendly, easy to approach. Everyone was eager to share their particular conspiracy, and they were clamoring to hear his. You know, they were just very excited about everything that he was saying, which I found interesting. It wasn't just them wanting to talk their stuff. They were eating up all of his stuff. And he is actually a physicist that works on high-powered microwave and RF weapon design. He pretended to be in big fear of smart meters. I don't know if you guys know what smart meters are. These are the upgrades that the electric company uses to track your electricity usage, right?
Oh.
So they think that these smart meters are a big conspiracy of the government trying to listen in on what's happening in our own homes.
Wow.
Another interesting thing he said was, common statement was, I don't have proof, I'm just asking.
That's the conspiracy. That's their modus operandi.
I asked him to give me a list of topics that were represented at the conference.
JFK, come on, JFK.
So the first thing that he said was, just to give me a little more information about what he was looking at as he's walking through and talking to all those people.
I'm putting my nickel down on chemtrails, by the way. Just want to get that down.
Safe bet.
I said JFK.
He said each speaker had a table where they were selling books, videos, CDs, etc., which, you know, is not surprising. He said there were about 40 to 50 other vendors there. It was a very vendor-heavy event, selling books, videos, CDs, trinkets, food supplements. And here's his quick list that he gave me. UFO, psychic readings, tarot cards, anti-vax proponents, anti-fluoride proponents, aura photos, scams, global warming denial, chemtrails, smart meters, microwave weapons, cell phone, anti-radiation stickers to protect yourself against, of course, spiritual consultants, monatomic gold supplements. What's that, guys?
I don't know.
Well, mono means one, atomic means
The gold equivalent
atomic.
of colloidal silver, I guess.
I that's what I assumed. I didn't figure that one out. Ear candling, moon hoaxers. He said that it was actually a ton of fun to talk to these people because they were so energized about the stuff that they were talking about, and he said it was fascinating to just listen to them go. So I asked him to list the best things that he encountered. The first thing he mentioned was the smart meters, and part of that is because he he is very well versed in it. So he really was able to understand how off base they were and how little they actually knew about the whole thing. He said that that smart meters are being used in many communities for electricity and gas reading, right? So these utilities are replacing the old style analog meters with these super up to date smart meters, and these meters are maybe they're a little scary for the people to see. They actually look like an electronic device and everything. He said that they have a microprocessor and a clock that tracks the consumption. That's it. That's all they do. And they are also RF devices, so the meters don't even need to be walked up to. The guys just need to drive their cars down the street, and their cars will pick up all the readings from all these meters. So it just saves time and energy. Eventually, especially when the Wi-Fi network gets more prolific, or if they can hook these into the internet, no one would even have to drive past your house to read them. But the conspiracy people know better. These meters are actually a government plot to perform mind control and pacify the citizens via RF energy and monitor your speech and actions inside your own home. They even listen to you having sex. That's what they're there to watch.
So, Jay, tell me that there was a vendor selling tinfoil hats.
He didn't say that, and I wish I could say that he did, but he didn't mention that. He said, here's other things that the smart reader people were saying. JFK invented global warming back in 1960 to begin the now New World Order.
Huh. Invented global warming.
Yep. Solar and wind energy was invented to control the weather and cause warming and droughts to control the population. He said that there are two kinds of physics. Prepare yourselves. Ready? There's Jewish physics, which was invented by Einstein. This is just a misinformation campaign to confuse the public. Okay?
Straight out of Germany in 1933. That's awesome.
Then there's Aryan physics, invented by Stanley Kubrick, Carl Sagan, and Arthur C. Clarke.
What?
This is hyperdimensional physics. This is how the universe really works.
Stanley Kubrick got in on it? Really?
Yep. Then
and Carl Sagan, two of my heroes.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Well, Clark,
three of my heroes.
All right, guys. AIDS denial. This is another government hoax. What was really appalling was the fact that the speaker was a real medical doctor at a real university hospital.
Oh, Jesus.
9/11 truthers. A guy said that the aircraft that crashed into the towers were holograms.
Yeah,
the aircraft were holograms.
Wow. Yeah.
They were placed
that's a
there.
Powerful hologram.
They were placed there by military stealth aircraft flying at offset parallel path and projected the image as they flew through New York. And of course, when he says stealth, he really means cloaked, like Star Trek, because the aircraft were actually invisible.
That's right. So much so that the 400 cameras that each took video of what was going on that day, all saw the exact same thing.
Evan, they're cloaked. They're cloaked ships, and these ships, the technology, we got this technology from the aliens from the Roswell Area 51 situation.
Ooh, it all starts to fit together.
Yep.
I wonder what he projected the holograms off.
The holograms were being sent via invisibly cloaked ships.
I know, but that's bizarre, and so is just the whole idea of projecting a hologram onto what? You need something to reflect the hologram
Bob,
off of.
You clearly don't get where this is coming from. I mean, seriously, Bob.
Yeah, Bob,
catch
you
up,
and your
please.
Jewish physics.
The subtleties of holograms are escaping you. Move on.
So my guy, the skeptic that was there, wanted to know why the guy that was saying this was still alive. Because, he was on to their elaborate hoax. The guy said, the Illuminati likes me because I am so smart and clever to have figured this out that they use my innovative ideas to perpetrate other acts against the people.
Wow.
Right.
I'm not done. I'm not done, guys. I'm sorry. I know this is going on long, but there's more information I have to give you.
There's a line there. I mean, it's hard to, it's not politically correct to dismiss somebody's ideas as being a product of dysfunctional neurology, but there's a line you get past where that's really the only meaningful way to make sense of certain opinions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it too, Steve, is that if they're in this culture, it just becomes the norm to them. I think most of these people don't actually have raving emotional problems. I think they just get so steeped in it that it just doesn't seem strange to them anymore. So he was speaking to a woman who detailed how life came on Earth. And she said, we are all a collection of 12 warring tribes of aliens. The Illuminati, the Anunnaki, reptilians, Greys, Arcturians, Nordics, and other lesser species who reseeded the Earth every 26,000 years. We're all superhuman beings, capable of incredible powers, but are kept under control by the media and the government. There's a moon base in the hollow center of the moon where all the control is done. The master control station for the universe is on a base inside Phobos. And by the way, zombies are real, and they are the result of not achieving sovereignty from the 12 warring tribes.
God, I hope that's true.
Okay. Did you ever hear of Cenemix? We've actually talked about this.
No.
Cenemix.
It's aborted human fetuses ground up and dried, used for flavor enhancement in Pepsi, Campbell's Soup, and Frito-Lay products.
Oh.
Did the FDA approve that?
So, the moon hoax guy is convinced that 2001: A Space Odyssey was a test case film for Kubrick to fake the moon landing, while Arthur C. Clarke was a NASA employee to ensure the video would be convincing.
I've heard that somewhere before.
9/11 was planned in 1967, and episode 23, season 2 of Get Smart laid the groundwork to see how well it worked.
Get Smart.
He heard that. Yes.
Get Smart, really. I feel like somebody's having a go here. Like,
yeah, right.
Somebody
We've just passed
somebody
into the
was onto
onion
this
realm.
guy, and they're like, let's mess with him.
Let's take it all the way.
Now, just keep in mind, guys, this was the skin of the apple. Like he was literally like, Jay, I'm telling you like the stuff that I remember. I'm telling you like not even the best stuff. Like it was just the stuff that we could cover in like the hour and a half that we talked. I'm fascinated by this. I can't tell you how intrigued I am by conspiracy theorists now, especially after reading this. And I knew a lot about conspiracy theories before this, but this really pushed it in a direction for me. I'm going to do more research on these.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun in the way that, listening to Coast and stuff like that is a lot of fun, except for all the anti-Semitism and health misinformation. If it weren't for all that, it sounds like it'd be a blast. Like the 50s.
Yeah, but
that's true.
From an investigative perspective, there are reasons why I believe there are a lot of reasons why people become attracted to conspiracy theories and why they relate to them. And that's an interesting thing to do a deep dive on. But even, the whole anti-Semitism aspect of this is also pretty interesting. I mean, those roots, I suspect, go way, way back in global culture. And I'd like to learn more about that.
About 5,500 years.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always been the Jews. And even when it's somebody else that the conspiracy theorists are claiming has taken over the world, it's usually code for the Jews. They're talking about the Bilderbergs or the lizard people, although, David Icke may possibly actually mean lizard people, but also probably Jews. I mean,
I like calling him Icky.
Yeah, it's always the Jews. It's always been the Jews.
So that concludes my special report. I hope you guys liked it.